Hello everybody, this is Flame Gaming here. Today's video will be ranking FNAF and FNAF characters based off of their significance in the lore of FNAF. And I know that FNAF lore is a very vague subject with many different opinions, but we will be going off of general lore and more generally just how many theories they are, and could FNAF really be FNAF without these characters? And without further ado, let's get started into our first cast of animatronics, the FNAF 1 group. Now, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are all relatively simple. They are important because was basically the beginning of William Afton's killing spree. But also, generally outside of FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, they didn't play much of a role. It was more of the souls within the suits. So, they all go into kind of important. Golden Freddy. Now, Golden Freddy is a very important character, being basically the main lore of the entire game, and probably the most important character outside of a few handfuls. So that's why Golden Freddy gets This is FNAF. We cannot have FNAF without Golden Freddy. He is a necessity. He was the one that basically, without him, there is no Ultimate Custom Night, and basically most things don't exist without him. He was the first one to be killed, and the very beginning of it. Also, if you want to count Fredbear as Golden Freddy, then that is even more significant due to the bite of 87 or 83. Next up, Phone Guy. Now, Phone Guy is always kind of important in the games. He often gives the player advice, but we're not going to be focusing on that right now. What he says is kind of important, and also him existing is okay, I guess, but really he doesn't do that much for the lore. He gets killed in Golden Freddy in FNAF 1 on night 4, so he's present throughout FNAF games 2 through 1, but generally doesn't do much. Maybe if he had a bit more lore, or maybe something more important, he could get okay, I guess, but we're gonna put him in could use without. On to FNAF 2. It's been so long since I last have seen our soul lost to this monster, to the man behind the slaughter. Right, first up, the toy animatronics. Now, generally, these guys are mostly unnecessary, but there's also the bite of 87, where a security officer was killed by a certain animatronic. Now, we don't know who, so I can't generally put anybody above each other in this list. Since we don't know exactly who did it, they will all get into the same tier, and they didn't even have souls in them, but generally they didn't do much outside of the bite of 83, so these all of them get okay, I guess, being semi-important, but also not that important at the same time. Now, Puppet. This one was extremely necessary, basically as much as Golden Freddy was necessary, because without Puppet, there would have been no souls in the suits, without that of Golden Freddy. While William Afton did kill the kids and then put them in the suits, there's a difference. Puppet put the souls in those suits and actually gave them life, so without Puppet, there would be no animatronics. On to the withered animatronic groups. Now, these ones, yeah, they're also kind of important. Not really much left else to say other than that, so they all get kind of important. I put them above the toys because at least they had soul, and Withered Golden Freddy, of course, goes next to regular Golden Freddy, being the same exact character. Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. Now, these two are interesting because they didn't really do much in FNAF 1. However, they sought out to be more significant in FNAF 3. However, only Shadow Freddy appeared in FNAF 3. And he was pretty important because there's many theories revolve around him and what exactly he is. So without a very clear guideline to really go off of what Shadow Freddy is, we can only put him as at need for lore, as he lured the animatronics into the back area for William Afton to disassemble. Without that, there is no FNAF 3 and beyond. Now, Shadow Bonnie just kind of exists, but also didn't really do much. So he gets above the toys. Endo 02. Okay, I guess. Could use without. Really?
I hope you die in a fire. Hope you'll be stabbed in the heart. Hope you'll get shot and expire.
Didn't really need that. Springtrap, the man himself, the man behind the slaughter. Now, William Afton is absolutely necessary, without question, goes into this FNAF tier. Without him, there is no games at all. Phantom animatronics. Okay. There's really no need for any of them. They're just as they are implied. They are all phantoms. They don't do anything to move the story forward. They just kind of exist there and make your life a lot more difficult in FNAF 3. On to FNAF 4. The Nightmare Group. Now, these ones, there's a lot of theories debating around these, so we don't entirely know what they are, but some theories suggest they are real, others suggest they're half real, and some say they just aren't in general. So without a really solid line, kind of like with Shadow Freddy, we can only put him in kind of important. The only reason that they get a rank above Shadow Bonnie is because we actually do know that they exist for the most part. Now, the Halloween edition cast. They're there, I guess. They get a tier below them because we don't know if they are canon or not. At least I didn't do my research. On to FNAF's sister location. What, did you think I was going to do my music here? No, I wasn't. I was just trying to catch up.
Can't wait to meet you. So join the animatronic family. We open real soon. Try your best to hold on to sanity.
Now, this game has a lot of heavy lore in it, so most of these animatronics are going to be pretty high up. For starting off with Circus Baby, this is need for lore. Circus Baby was the soul of Elizabeth, and without him, there was no Ennard, and during the final scene in Pizzeria Simulator, there'd be one less animatronic. Actually, there'd be two less animatronics. There wouldn't be Molten Freddy or Scrap Baby, and also Circus Baby is just generally important. It's one of the many reasons why William Afton went on his killing spree, but isn't entirely necessary because the bite of 83 still happened. Lolbit. It's a computer virus. Yendo. Doesn't appear in the main game. Hand Unit. Kind of guides you a little bit, but not much. Ballora, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy. Now, these are the main stages of the group, and they are less important than Circus Baby, but they also are not, because they just house random kids' souls, and also with the souls of the original 4 gang. So they can go in there. Biddy Bab and Electro Bab. I'm going to put these two at the same spot because they both we could use without them because they don't exactly do much. Bonnet is the same story too. Doesn't really do much and kind of is there. And so is Bon Bon. Now, mini arenas. No need. And sure, Night 4 wouldn't have happened without them, but regardless of whether they were there or not, canonically, Michael Afton still survives the night. Ennard, very important. Ennard was all of the Funtime animatronics, which were all of the original animatronics. Without them, there was nothing else. Now we move on to Pizzeria Simulator.
It's going.
Now, with the Pizza Sim animatronics, these guys all get pretty high up rankings. Scrap Baby gets Need for Lore. Molten Freddy also is pretty high up on the list, all being needed for their lore. Scrap Trap gets a tier above all of them, though, due to being William Afton. And Lefty is the puppet, so it also gets a rank up as well. Henry. Now, Henry was very important because he did a lot of things in the story, creating the entirety of Pizzeria Simulator, and the entire story started in the first place. But only really appearing in Pizzeria Simulator, canonically, he appeared in basically every game. So he gets, this is FNAF. Helpy, no soul, nothing interesting. Trash in the Gang, nothing interesting. Happy Frog, no soul. Mr. Hippo, no soul. Pig Patch, no soul. Ned Bear, no soul. Orville, no soul. Basically, anything that's not the original group are all obsolete. Dee Dee and Zor, we could use without. Old Man Consequences is a bit important depending on how you look at him. Red Bear, absolutely necessary. Spring Bonnie, absolutely necessary. Both being resulted in Fredbear's Family Diner and both being result of William Afton, who the man he is now. Michael Afton, S tier. This is FNAF. Of course we need him. He's the main character. I will not be doing Security Breach, Ruin, or anything beyond that because I have not played those games and don't really find them. And I have never really understood the lore on those, and they were always very complicated. So, this is our ranking. And that's going to do it for today's video. Catch you all later.